Okay friends, now let us continue with our lesson Letter to Adolf Hitler. Hope all of you have gone through the previous videos that I had uploaded on the same lesson. We shall now continue with the second paragraph. We had completed the first paragraph, and in the latter part of that paragraph we saw Gandhiji talking about how the colonizer can subjugate or attain his aim of complete domination of the colonized only through a certain degree of cooperation, either willing or compulsory, from the side of the victim. That means that only if the colonized shows a certain degree of cooperation will the colonizer be able to fulfill his desire of complete monopoly, of monopolizing the entire colonized nation. And Gandhi is confident that one may find a large number of men and women in his own country who would be ready to sacrifice their lives, who would be ready to take the extreme step instead of meekly surrendering or yielding before any kind of oppression, tyranny or violence. Though all may not attain that high degree of heroism, but still he can say without doubt that in India one may find an unexpected number of men and women who would be ready to fight for India's independence, for India's freedom, by sacrificing their own lives. That is, the colonizer may be able to probably cause physical harm or injury to them, but the colonizer will never be able to conquer the souls of his countrymen. This is because they have been undergoing that kind of a training for the past 20 years. So Gandhiji is upholding the strong spirit, the indomitable spirit, courage, strength, and determination of his own countrymen. Okay. Now coming to the next paragraph, let me read. We have been trying for the past half a century to throw off the British rule. The movement of independence has been never so strong as now. So he says that this struggle for India's independence, this struggle against British oppression, has been going on for almost half a century now. For the past half a century. And this movement, this independence struggle, this struggle for the cause of India's freedom has never weakened. It has been gaining in strength, it has gathered momentum of late, and it has become stronger now. Let me read. The most powerful political organization, I mean the International Congress, is trying to achieve this end. We have attained a very fair measure of success through non-violent effort. Now here he recalls the efforts made by the political organization International Congress in trying to attain India's independence. And he says that the organization has been quite successful in its fight against colonial oppression, and that too without resorting to any kind of violence or physical conflict. It has attained success through strategies and techniques that highlight the importance of non-violent struggle. Then he continues, we were groping for the right means to combat the most organized violence in the world which the British power represents. So he says that they were indeed searching in a rather unsure manner, that is groping, okay, for the right means to combat the most organized violence in the world, which the British power represents. So he says how they were trying to find out a means, a method, or ways to deal with one of the most organized forms of violence represented by the British. Let me continue. You have challenged it. It remains to be seen which is the better organized, the German or the British. So he speaks with a certain element of black humor when he says that the Germans have now challenged that kind of an organized violence represented by the British, because the Germans have also now proved themselves to be capable of such a kind of organized violence. That is why he says that you have challenged it. It remains to be seen which is the better organized, the German or the British. So it has to be judged as to which party or which side is more organized, which is more oppressive than the other, which is more organized in torturing and subjugating others. Is it the German or the British? Let me continue. We know what the British heel means for us and the non-European races of the world. Now here, British heel is used to indicate how people have been brought under the control of the British. That is, how groups of people have been treated in an unfair manner, in a very bad manner by the Britishers. So he says, we know what the British heel means for us because we ourselves are victims of that kind of a control. We have been subject to inhuman torture. We have been treated badly, unfairly. We know what British heel means. We know what the British heel means for us and the non-European races of the world. So all those groups of people who have been made to bear the brunt of this kind of a colonialist oppression would know what British heel means. We know what it indicates, just as the other non-European groups or people of the world who have been made victims of similar kind of oppression. Okay? Hope this is clear. Let me continue. But we would never wish to end the British rule with German aid. So he clarifies that though both groups of people, that is the British or the German, though both of them represent different kinds of oppression, we never wish to end British oppression seeking German help, because we know that both are two sides of the same coin, or both represent a level of torture, humiliation and violence. Okay, I'm reading from the text. We have found in non-violence a force which, if organized, can without doubt match itself against a combination of all the most violent forces in the world. So he says that non-violence can be used as a strong mode of protest, a strong force to deal with any kind of organized violence, or even a combination of all the most violent forces in the world. So, non-violence or non-violent modes of protest are enough to tackle any kind of extreme violence and oppression in the world. Let me continue. In non-violent technique, as I have said, there is no such thing as defeat. It is all do or die without killing or hurting. So he says that the best attribute of using non-violent technique is that there is no significance for defeat, because it's always a do or die situation that involves no physical harm, that involves no killing, hurting, or any kind of violence. Now, what is a do or die situation? He means to say that there is only the desperate need to succeed. There is only a determined effort made to succeed. It is either you succeed or you completely fail. There is no other option. That is, you have to put in all your strength, energy. You have to make a big effort to succeed. It should be exerted in full force, because there is no other side. Other side indicates complete failure. So, there is no such thing as defeat. There is no place for defeat here. It's a do or die kind of a situation where you have to put in all your energy. You have to direct all your efforts towards success, or nothing else remains. Then he continues, it can be used practically without money and obviously without the aid of science of destruction which you have brought to such perfection. So, he says that when you make use of non-violent means, there is no physical injury, there is no physical combat, no conflict, there is no money involved, and there is no destruction involved. Now he is actually hinting at how the Nazi regime enforced a policy of destruction by resorting to science, scientific concepts, how science was used to justify an act of oppression. I hope you will remember all those details that I had mentioned in the earlier classes, that is in the introductory classes to this lesson, where I talked about how the Nazi regime had made use of certain scientific concepts, including those of Charles Darwin, to justify or to argue in favor of their acts of oppression and torture. That is, their desire to hegemonize people who are deemed as unfit and inferior. Okay, so Gandhiji is probably hinting at that. So, he is actually highlighting or drawing our attention to how non-violence can be used as a strategy to combat, to deal with, or to tackle the most extreme forms of oppression or violence. There are no casualties, there are no killings, no physical harm done to anyone, no destruction caused, and no money involved as well. So in all ways, non-violent protest exists as the best strategy that can be used.